hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
On Pulse 95.
It is finally the weekend and we can finally take a break and finally take, this whole sigh of relief as we move into some of the days that we most look forward to throughout the week. Welcome to the Afternoon Karak. This is Aisha and I am running solo for the next couple of weeks because Mikhail, my co-host that is much missed over here, he is on some vacation, a much deserved vacation, but that's okay, guys. I do have, the usual vibes running here on the Afternoon Karak, aka the Magic Hour. So great news. If you guys remember, earlier in the week, I was talking about how sometimes I feel like I have bad luck because no matter how many times I go to get myself my favorite flavor of donut, I never, ever find it. And it's not because, the flavor of donut is, it is popular. It is choco frosted. So everybody loves some chocolate, right? But it's also because I usually go a little bit late at night. So it's only expected that they would have run out by then. So it's the whole moment of realizing and, being thankful for what I have, despite the fact that I feel that I'm a bit unlucky. But I did get my choco frosted donut today, so it's a little bit of a treat for myself. So I'm feeling very happy. I'm feeling very excited to talk to you guys about the latest episode of Marvel's What If. Yes, we are continuing our review of the show. This one was quite interesting, I'd say, even though it does take a lot of surprising changes and it does keep on the whole theme and feel of the latest What If episodes, the whole sudden deaths and the sudden changes and the highs and lows of the show. I'd say it's still quite different in comparison to the last 4 episodes. Also going to be talking about, keeping on with that a bit of a grim note. We're going to be talking about how Marvel's fans are debating about who might die in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I know, very macabre, but it is an important discussion we should be having because James Gunn did announce that there is going to be one character who we are going to be losing in the upcoming movie. So the fans have been speculating who could it be. So join in the conversation as we delve deep into that. We're also going to be talking about the various trailers that came out yesterday. There were several of them, to say the least, at least 4 or 5. But we're going to be focusing on 3 of them. Come on, from A24, Don't Look Up, and Midnight Mass. Now, Midnight Mass, even though I was avoiding it, really badly, because I really want to watch it, and if you guys have been tuning into the Afternoon Karak for the past couple of years, you know that I do not watch any trailer. I avoid them because I prefer having a whole, I'd say, proper full experience of the movie. I prefer not knowing much about what's happening in the movie because one of my biggest pet peeves, my latest pet peeves, have been how a lot of studios do not know how to summarize a movie into a trailer, but rather they give us the entirety of the movie in a 2 or 3 minute trailer. But we are going to be talking about Midnight Mass today, and also a TIL that is quite upsetting but perhaps can save your life. It is about, angry wasps. So first of all, do not anger wasps, but if you do accidentally anger them and you feel like I am doomed, there is one way to make sure that you do not fall into their little tiny hands or stingers, right? We're going to be talking about that. I feel like today might be a little bit of a grim episode, but it's all fun and games and lots of things right here on the Afternoon Karak. So make sure you're staying tuned and staying locked to Pulse 95.
Is it an epic or epic failure? The Big Review. Movies, games, and TV in focus.
Pulse 95.
Although I am running solo today, but I am being kept company by Hind the Overseer. Shout out to Hind, who loves to join us whenever we have some MCU talk. And boy, do we have a lot of MCU talk. We're going to be talking about the What If series, the latest episode that came out yesterday. Now, if you haven't watched that episode, fair warning, we're gonna jump deep into spoiler territory, but if you have watched it and you want to join in the conversation, 4215 Ittisalat or do. Let's read off what Hind texted us. She says, hi, so this episode was even darker and creepier than the last one. Love the team of sidekicks trying to save the day. However, it didn't sit well with me that Vision would be so corrupted that he would feed innocent people to Wanda. This is where I would disagree with you, simply because we have watched WandaVision and we have watched Infinity War, and we've seen how much love Vision has for Wanda and how far he would go for her. If you remember, even all the way back in the previous movies, I mean, even before they went on the run in Infinity War, when they were finally together, you'd see that they were trying their best to stay away and stay together as much as possible. So in fact, this Vision is the closest, I'd say, to the Vision we have in the canon MCU timeline. So I wasn't surprised when I noticed that, he was actually going a little bit rogue and that he would do anything to make Wanda happy. That actually, in my opinion, fit very well with what we know of Vision. She also says, he could have easily killed all those zombies and Wanda to help them escape before killing himself to at least make up for some of what he did. True, but then the whole thing with them needing the stone to keep up and basically to survive all of this was necessary, even though I did see that there might have been a tiny plot hole or two. But again, if you think about Vision and his loyalty towards Wanda, he could have easily been too blinded by his love that he was not thinking properly. She also says, by the way, Zombie Hope throwing a zombie at the jet while flying was the funniest thing in the episode. I agree with that. And after all they had to go through, zombie Thanos is waiting for them in Wakanda. I feel like there should be a part 2 for this episode. It would be so interesting. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you're having a wonderful weekend as well. And I agree with you. The part where she threw the that zombie was pretty much the funniest part, because that's the thing. The entire episode felt like there was no way out of this for anybody throughout this entire thing. Like throughout the entire 30 minutes, I was like, I know nobody's gonna survive this. And the way one after the other, everybody would keep on dying or being, getting lost in the swarm. It was just very obvious that there was no silver lining out of this, despite the fact that they were finding clues and ways to cure everybody. But it was very interesting that despite that fact, you still knew that there was no way that they're going to get out of this. It just felt very grim from the beginning all the way till the end. The way we kept on losing one character after the other. And it just shows you, like you said, a very dark and creepy episode in comparison to the other What If episodes. Even though, in my opinion, I feel like perhaps the Doctor Strange one, the one from the previous episode, was the one that hit the hardest, because it was about learning the consequences of your actions. And here it is something similar, that is true. But it was much more of an innocent mistake. Like nobody would have guessed that in the process of them trying to find her mom, that in that process Hank Pym would just end up spreading a zombie virus. So it's similar but kind of different. But again, I do understand what you mean by darker and creepier. I wouldn't say it was my favorite episode, but I'd say that when I first was introduced to the idea of zombies within the What If series, like all the way back a couple of months ago when we were getting trailers and the ideas about them, I remember going like, is it going to be a gimmicky thing, or are they just going to show us just them turning into zombies? It's going to be boring, etc. But I feel that I really like the fact that they had a confident plot line throughout the story, again from the beginning till the end of what was happening. Even though the ending, the part with Thanos getting, becoming a zombie, that was interesting, but again, it just leaves more room to your imagination. It was all in all a very, I don't know how to say it. It was a very upsetting, very dark episode. And it just shows you that Marvel's What If is the platform for the MCU, for the Marvel directors and, the writers and whatnot, for them to basically go crazy with their stories and to be as open as possible with the possibilities of what could happen within the MCU in different timelines. So it was a very enjoyable episode, and nonetheless, we're going to continue talking about Marvel, but we're going to be talking about the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy movie, the third iteration in the series, and we're going to be talking about who is gonna die in that movie. It's sort of, again, we're gonna keep on the grimness, but with an upbeat discussion. I'm not sure, guys, but join in the conversation. You're all welcome to give us some ideas, bounce them off to figure out who exactly are we gonna lose in the upcoming movie. Hopefully, nobody who is a fan favorite. I have some of my theories. Can't wait to talk about them. Coming up next, right here on the Afternoon Karak. So stay tuned and stay locked to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
Make a cup of tea. This is Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
You're listening to Pulse 95.
I think we should call the first half of the hour the Marvel Hour, because earlier I was talking about the latest episode in Marvel's What If, and now we move on to a very grim future for the Guardians of the Galaxy, because yes, director James Gunn has announced a good while back that somebody is going to die. So let's jump into this discussion as we figure out who that person is. I'm still being kept by the lovely Hin. She calls herself Chatty Hin. No, you're the lovely Hin. That is the overseer of the Marvel Universe right here on the Afternoon Karak. She says, I think it might be either Drax because of Dave's previous comments about the character, or Rocket, since he was a scientific experiment and he himself mentions in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie that he doesn't have a long lifespan. Very, very interesting point, especially the last one. The first one, I think, might actually have a lot of truth in it, because Dave Bautista did say that he has no interest in playing Drax longer than he is playing him right now, as in he does not really see a future where he keeps on playing Drax the same way a lot of Marvel actors do when they sign up for the MCU, because more often than not they're signing up at least a couple of movie deals, and I feel like perhaps he sees that the end for Drax is coming near, even though I think, if I remember correctly, back when he was making this comment, I don't think he had the script. I cannot remember that, neither can I verify that right now. So that's another point to take into consideration. Now, the second point that Hen brings up is Rocket. Yes, Rocket did mention that he was a scientific experiment, and I do not remember him ever saying that he does not have a long lifespan, but that makes sense because, again, he's an experiment. I don't think he expects himself to live that long either. So it is very interesting they bring it up. And I think that if Rocket is lost, as in we lose him in this movie, he'd be a massive loss for the MCU. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to miss him a lot more than I would miss Drax. Even though, if I remember correctly, there were plans that for a standalone Drax and Mantis movie, but that was scratched out a good while back. Now, as for my own predictions, I actually think it's going to be Nebula. Even though Nebula has proven herself to be an incredibly super useful, helpful, and an important part of the MCU and the Avengers lineup, even though she wasn't really on their side for most of the time. But I think that, unfortunately, she feels on the expendable list, and I will miss her. I'm not saying this because, I don't like her, please remove her from the MCU. This is coming from, just a logical point of view that I feel like perhaps she is going to be the person we're going to lose. Again, if we do lose her, I'm not going to be very happy. She is a very interesting character. She had a lot of major character development, but I feel like she might have reached the pinnacle of her character development. Perhaps it is the time where she sacrifices herself, even though I feel like she does have a place in the future of the MCU. But I also think that perhaps Tia is gonna be the one who goes away. But I feel like I agree that perhaps Drax, based on Dave's comments, and Rocket, based on the fact that he doesn't have a long lifespan, and also Nebula. But I'm putting my money mostly towards Nebula. But again, it's not like I'm not gonna miss her. I am gonna miss her a lot, and I feel like that a lot of people are also gonna miss her if she is removed. Text me 4215 Etisalat or do tell me, who do you think is gonna be the person or character who is gonna die in the upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie? Again, so far we have our bets on Drax, Rocket, and Nebula. Some are saying Groot, which would be very upsetting, but if we lose Rocket, I don't think Groot can manage to live on without him. So maybe they're a package deal, unfortunately. But yeah, text me 4215. It's a lot or do. We're going to be taking a short break, and coming up next, we're going to be talking about some of Netflix's and other studios' upcoming trailers. There were a bunch of them yesterday, such as Come On, Come On, Don't Look Up, and Midnight Mass, right here on the Afternoon Karak.
This is
TIL.
Today I learned.
Before we jump into the latest trailers, let's talk about some unfortunate events. I know it seems that the entire hour today has been a series of unfortunate events and just some grim things, but I feel like there is a cautionary tale here that we can all learn from as well, because there's a man, his name was Steven, and he was unfortunately stung 42 times after accidentally disturbing a wasp's nest in his back garden. I know, terrifying, because if you guys have heard or haven't heard maybe, wasps are a lot more terrorizing in comparison to bees. Bees are mostly just protecting their territory and are very, very cautious about stinging people because they only have one chance, and they would basically, protect themselves. They would rather save that sting for something that is actually worth it. So they might be annoying, but they wouldn't do much, and they just might be roaming around. So don't be scared of bees, but be terrified of wasps, because unlike the bees, wasps do not die when they sting you. So they can sting you many times without fail. Now, obviously, Steven wasn't disturbing the wasp's nest on purpose. If you do have a wasp's nest, if you do have a bee's nest, make sure you call somebody who is an expert that can remove them. So he says that in that frenzy, he was distressed and he was running around, and in that panic, when he basically was probably swatting around the wasp probably sent out some pheromones that called together more wasps to come and basically protect the nest, and it was distressing to him, if you say the least. So what he did is that he said that he wanted to run away from them, and he warns that do not ever seek shelter in a body of water, because wasps are so hell-bent on revenge and protecting their territory that they would actually wait for you until you leave the body of water and sting you again. It's terrifying to think of. Absolutely terrifying to think of, because wasps are not stupid. Apparently, they will not be fooled by the idea of you playing dead. They would know from the beginning that, hey, this person is lying to us. We will wait for them to quote unquote regain consciousness, and then we're gonna go back to protecting our territory. And this is from the NHS. It's advice, obviously, not to wave your arms and do not swat at them, because again, when you fight them, when you attack them, they're gonna call for more backup, and you do not want more wasps around you. So here's what we learned today. If you get accidentally attacked by a wasp, or you feel that a wasp has stung you, do not ever flail your arms so they don't call for backup. That's one thing. Second thing is, do not play dead or jump into a body of water, because they will wait for you and get their revenge. So I hope that this saves you guys, and I know this is going to be something very valuable I'm not going to forget ever again. because it's terrifying, and I'm pretty sure all of you guys would share the same sentiments and would not want to be stung by wasps. I hope that Steven is doing well despite the 42 stings all over his body. So this is what we learned today. There are some of the things you can learn from the afternoon cut. I can join in the conversation 4215 Vixalat or do. We're going to be taking a short break, and coming up next are those trailers. I promise you we're going to be talking about some of Netflix's upcoming movies as well as A24's Come On trailer. It is very sentimental. Let's talk about that coming up next right here on the Magic Hour at the Afternoon Karak.
Make a hot cuppa and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atia
on Pulse 95.
Well, here are some of the latest trailers that were announced just yesterday, well, over the past couple of hours, and honestly there were several of them, but I had to pick out some of the most interesting ones and the ones that I'm looking forward to the most, and perhaps a lot of people. Of course, we need to talk about A24's latest movie. No, it's actually not creepy, surprisingly enough. It is called Come On, and it's going to be starring Joaquin Phoenix. And it is just a beautiful and chilling movie that it had its world premiere at the Telluride Film Festival over the Labor Day weekend, which was a couple of days ago. And the studio is eyeing a November release, so perhaps we're gonna watch that movie around that time. Most likely we're gonna get an international release, but perhaps not. We just need to wait and see. It is a follow-up on Mike Mills's 2016 20th Century Woman drama, which earned him an original screenplay Oscar nomination. And Phoenix here stars as Johnny, a documentary filmmaker whose latest project has seen him interviewing children across the U.S. about the state of affairs in the world. Very interesting premise. And he forges a tenuous but transformational relationship with his 8-year-old nephew, Jesse, who he ends up taking on his travels from Los Angeles to New York to New Orleans. And if you watch that trailer, it does feel, you can feel the warmth despite the fact that it's black and white. And I feel like maybe perhaps black and white films sometimes can evoke a sense of separation between the audience and the movie. But I felt that it was the complete opposite here when you were watching it. It just felt incredibly warm, and it just felt like this very, I cannot describe that sensation as you watch them just go from one part to another, moving around in their beautiful relationship as it flourishes. And it was a very, very beautiful trailer, to say the least. Now, the second trailer, this one looks pretty good. This one is called Don't Look Up, and it stars none other than a massive group of well-known actors and actresses, but most importantly, Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence warning the president about a comet strike. So basically, it is that typical movie where, actually the typical scene you watch in natural disaster movies, where you have the scientists yelling and trying to convince people that disaster is coming, but nobody believes them and nobody thinks that this is actually happening. This is basically it. And that movie is just star-studded, to say the least, because you've got Meryl Streep as the U.S. president. We've got Jonah Hill as the chief of staff. We've got Ariana Grande, Kate Blanchett, Tyler Perry, so many actors and actresses. And just that 1 or 2 minutes of that trailer was just exciting, and it just made me so excited to watch it. And I feel like those are one of those interesting Netflix movies where Netflix takes all of those big names and just shove them into one movie. Now, that might be a hit or a miss, but my predictions from the trailer is that even if it doesn't have any substance, it lacks a plot line. Even though for me right now, I think the plot line is very interesting, kind of taking on something that is very well known, a trope that is well known in a lot of movies, and then expanding on it. And again, despite the fact that maybe it might be a massive miss, despite that, nonetheless, simply because of the massive lineup of actors and actresses. People are gonna head down and watch that movie regardless. Also part of this cast is Timothy Chalamet. We've got Kid Cudi, we've got Michael Chiklis, Tom Sicily, just Ron Perlman. Just I can go on and on with this cast, but it's again star-studded and looks exciting, so it might not be that much of a gimmick and might actually be quite interesting. We continue with Netflix with the latest trailer from Midnight Mass. It is part of Netflix's and Chill's lineup. Not Netflix and Chill, but Netflix and Chill's that I spoke about yesterday. The Halloween lineup from Netflix, and it is quite chilling to say the least. It is a horror movie that's going to be streaming very soon, and it has the creators, both the creators of The Haunting of Hill House, etc. And it feels very, very interesting because it centers around an island that basically sees the resurgence of sort of like a religious mania simply because of some weird things that have been happening. And to say that it's chilling is an understatement. It makes me excited to want to watch this movie. I cannot wait for it to come out. It is going to be coming out very soon in October. You might be saying October is far away. Not really. I mean, this entire year just whizzed by in a second, and we're gonna get all these incredible movies as soon as possible. And with that, we wrap up the hour right here on the Afternoon Karak and bid you guys farewell. But don't worry, I'm gonna be back same time, same vibes, 4 p.m. till 5 p.m. next Sunday. But for now, we do have Yellow Home, Big House, and Alice Cofield keeping you company. And with that, I wish you a very lovely and happy time and day, because ladies and gentlemen, it is time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.